Every machine, every era, not tanks, not half-tracks. These were four-wheeled killing machines, designed by Germany during the Second World War. Built to move fast, built to hit hard. Most were tested, some were fielded, and almost all of them were forgotten. But among them, one vehicle pushed the concept too far. The Pakwagen was a classic paradox of late-war German engineering. A four-wheeled reconnaissance vehicle, weighing only about 11 tons, but carrying a 75mm Pak-40 anti-tank gun, the same type of gun capable of penetrating Allied tank armor at medium range, with an engine allowing it to reach a top speed of over 80 km/h on good roads. This vehicle was designed for quick engagement, firing first, and then immediate retreat. Without a turret for cover, the crew was poorly protected, but this provided firepower the enemy would never expect from a wheeled vehicle. In fact, if an American tank were spotted by the Pakwagen within a few hundred meters, the outcome was almost certain. However, this was an emergency solution. Production lasted only about 1944, with fewer than 100 units produced. It was scarce, dangerous, and appeared too late, a weapon born from pressure, not from abundance. Yet before this monster, Germany had already tried another path. The Sd.Kfz 231 represents Germany's early generation of four-wheeled armored cars, developed before the shift to eight-wheeled reconnaissance platforms. With a combat weight of roughly 6 tons, it was light, fast on roads, and effective during the early Blitzkrieg campaigns, where speed and reconnaissance mattered more than firepower. However, the four-wheel configuration quickly showed its limits. Poor weight distribution reduced off-road mobility, stability at speed was limited, and the chassis could not support heavier armor or equipment. As the war expanded eastward, these shortcomings became unacceptable. Reconnaissance vehicles needed longer range, higher endurance, greater stability, and improved survivability. The eight-wheel layout provided exactly that: better load capacity, superior cross-country performance, and improved control at high speed. After 1941, the Sd.Kfz 231 virtually disappeared from frontline service, not because it failed, but because it could no longer meet the demands of modern mechanized warfare. When light designs failed, engineers chose weight over balance. The Schwerer Panzerspauwagen Versuch was Germany's attempt to push the four-wheeled reconnaissance concept beyond its practical limits. The idea was straightforward: combine the speed of a wheeled vehicle with heavier firepower and increased protection. The problem was ambition. To carry larger weapons and thicker armor, the four-wheel chassis had to support more weight than it was designed for. This resulted in a high center of gravity and poor weight distribution, making the vehicle unstable at speed and especially dangerous during sharp turns or off-road movement. Instead of a fast reconnaissance platform, it became heavy, difficult to control, and fundamentally unsuited for its intended role. In a war that demanded reliable and immediately usable designs, the project was canceled before reaching production. If firepower was the problem, speed became the next obsession. The VK 3.01H Radpanzer was one of Germany's most unconventional armored vehicle concepts. Designed as a four-wheeled armored platform with large wheels, it looked closer to a racing vehicle than a combat machine. The goal was extreme speed on paved roads, achieved at the expense of cross-country capability. That same design became its downfall. The chassis was too specialized, poorly adaptable to real battlefield conditions, and unsuitable for the demands of modern warfare. The project never progressed beyond the experimental stage and was quietly abandoned. Not every vehicle was meant to fight on the front lines. The Sd.Kfz 247 OSV was not designed for direct combat. It was a four-wheeled armored command vehicle, protected by thin armor with a maximum thickness of roughly 8 mm, sufficient against small arms fire and light shrapnel. With a combat weight of around 4.5 tons, it could reach speeds exceeding 80 km/h on paved roads. The vehicle was powered by an 8-cylinder engine producing approximately 75 horsepower, prioritizing reliability and mobility over heavy load capacity. It carried no main armament, sometimes only a light machine gun for self-defense. The crew usually consisted of 3 to 4 personnel, with much of the interior space dedicated to long-range radio equipment and command systems. On the battlefield, its role was critical. If this vehicle was destroyed, command and communication could collapse, leaving entire units effectively paralyzed even without being physically overrun. But some designs were built not to command, but to terrify. The Einsatzflammenwerfer was a concept built for urban warfare. A small four-wheeled vehicle fitted with a flamethrower, intended to attack enemy infantry in confined spaces. For the target, the threat was obvious. Fire did not require precision, only proximity, making it effective against troops behind cover and inside buildings. But the same design made the vehicle extremely dangerous for its own crew. Highly flammable fuel tanks were carried on board, armor protection was minimal, and the short effective range forced the vehicle into the most dangerous parts of the battlefield. A single direct hit or even fragmentation could turn the entire vehicle into an inferno. On paper, it was a terror weapon. In reality, it was a double-edged blade, one that often cut its own hand. And finally, there were vehicles built only for one purpose. The Leichter Panzerspauwagen Sonderaufbau was not a standardized vehicle, but a collection of four-wheeled reconnaissance platforms modified for special missions. These designs appeared sporadically between 1939 and 1942, produced in extremely limited numbers, often only 1 or 2 vehicles per configuration. Their purpose was straightforward: rapid testing of specialized reconnaissance roles, including communications, navigation, and independent operations behind enemy lines. Combat weight typically ranged between 5 and 6 tons, light enough to preserve mobility while carrying mission-specific equipment. The greatest strength of the Sonderaufbau concept was not firepower or armor, but absolute flexibility. Each vehicle was built to perform a single task and to perform it better than any standard platform. As a result, documentation is scarce, and most of these vehicles faded quietly from official records. Because these machines were never meant to last. They were produced in extremely small numbers, and many were deliberately destroyed in the final months of the war. Some proved ineffective, others were simply too dangerous for their own crews. More importantly, they did not fit post-war military doctrine, where reliability, standardization, and mass production mattered more than unconventional designs. As a result, they disappeared not on the battlefield, but from history.